having an extended coaching discussion tonight, partly because we both coach for a long time, second because we always complain about everybody else's coaching. One of the great challenges for coaches now is that there's just so much unevenness of expectations and discontent from players and families that it's hard for coaches to last very long, even if they're having some success. So it only takes one complaint from a parent who has a loud enough voice to sink a coach.
Yeah, and then the people, the higher ups, listening to the parents instead of having meetings. Well, look what happened in where was it? Braintree. Look what happened in Braintree. The best coach probably in the state, both boys and girls basketball, had problems there.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Kristen McDonald won 4 state championships at Braintree girls, and there was tremendous pushback from parents who complained about their kid not getting enough opportunity or not enough publicity. Coach McDonald was named the Boston Herald Coach of the Decade, and this year she brought her Norwood boys team to the state finals in Division II. So she certainly got the track record to support her ability. And there was an ugly exchange of emails. Somehow the turtleboys.com got a hold of emails that had gone to Coach McDonald. It was really unbelievable, the amount of persecution she took, which led her to go to Norwood, where she works as a guidance counselor. So, but it's a hard job, and most coaches work year to year. So it's not like you have a 3-year contract, and the coaches are not getting rich in Massachusetts by coaching high school sports. It's different in Texas, where you have high school football offensive coordinators making $100,000. Entirely different deal.
You talk about Texas, right? Quickly, we'll get on. My son-in-law, Sean, coaches the football team in Duxbury, the younger kids.
Okay.
So he gets a call one day from a parent from Texas who's going to be moving up to Duxbury with 3 boys. One of them is going to be in the 1st grade. The same thing as Kellen, my grandson, who played last year, tackle.
How did he get his name?
Somehow they got it right. So they says, we're moving up there. We're going to be up there in July. And, our sons, our 2 oldest sons are playing. They're like in the 5th and 7th grade, have been playing. And my youngest son, we found that you're going to be the coach. And do you have a playbook you want to send us so we can start? So my son-in-law starts laughing. And he replies, he goes, this is just the 1st grade. It's really instructional, and, we teach them. And as a matter of fact, they're having a clinic this week with the younger kids. But it's funny, I said, that's Texas.
Hardcore.
It's unbelievable.
Well, there's a lot of sayings that I've acquired over the course of the year. Some of them are my own, some of people's are others. One of them is never be a child's last coach. In other words, make it fun for the kids. If it's not fun for the kids, they hate playing, they hate coming to practice, you're not doing your job. Everybody is not going to be a star player. We all know that. Everybody can be a good teammate, and I think most people that played for us in middle school basketball had a positive experience.
Yeah, and I think commitment's a key too. You hear people, Melrose and other cities complaining about whatever team it is, and they just complain. They may go to the athletic director or whoever else. But when you sit back and you're watching and you're seeing that a lot of these people complaining, their child is not committed to the program. All right, I'm not saying they have to be totally committed, but committed to where there may be a game once a week and you should make it. So, and then you have some parents, again, complaining, and you see that their daughter or son, they weren't committed to the team. They maybe went to 1 or 2 games, maybe went to 1 or 2 practices during the summer, and they're the ones complaining. The good thing is you have so many great parents especially that I've been involved with in Melrose. So, terrific parents. Kids are committed. Most of them are committed. And you very rarely see them complaining about anything. Their kids go and play, kids have a good time, and hopefully they're successful. But you do have that one or two. Same thing would happen in Braintree when they got rid of that coach.
Yeah, there's been a move away from basketball toward volleyball and soccer, especially around here, and to a lesser extent lacrosse, so that more of the basketball players are not primary basketball players. They're basketball players whose primary sport is something else, which is fine. You know, if you don't love it, you don't want to be putting all your time into it. But you know, there are far more skills to acquire and game reads to acquire in basketball than there are for a lot of other sports.
But you look at I've been helping my friend with his AAU program. You go there and the talent in girls basketball is unbelievable now. Just watching these tournaments, you know, which I've been going to a lot of the games, and one person I know, Sophia Smith, for the high school team. She was the MVP of the varsity this year. She was at I didn't see her, but she was at a tournament I coached, and she's going to Chicago in a tournament, and I've seen her play 2 games in the summer league. She's been to both games. As a matter of fact, she came down for the first half of last Tuesday's game. It was tremendous, but she had to go to her AU practice right after that, so she missed the second half, and we lost by three points to Reading in a good game where, you know, a lot of our varsity players, well, some of them weren't there, but she is totally committed, and you can see the difference in her game. She's going to be, I think she's going to be one of the best players in the Middlesex League this year. She looks she's been looking really good, but she's been committed to it. I mean, you don't have to be that committed, but just get involved. You know, go to a couple of games, go to practices, work in your game, want to get better because they have a chance to be good this year. But I'm a little down right now because I don't see that total commitment. And then it's gonna all come down to how much they want to get better and be successful next year. And
yeah, there's a book by Dr. Fergus Connolly called Game Changers, and he talks about a model for sports which I think is really great. He calls it the TTPP model, and it's technical, that's what skill you have, tactical, strategy, physical, obviously your strength, speed, conditioning, etc., and psychological, your resilience, your ability to play under pressure, that sort of thing. And if you just take any one of those, it's formidable. You're not going to become an explosive athlete. You're not going to become the stronger kid who can fight for rebounds. You just don't go to the gym one day a week to do that. You've got to be committed probably 3 days a week, probably at least half an hour, just on that part of your game. And that doesn't include all the skill-based or to totally understand the game. You have a lot of young players who they're playing a lot with AAU and also watching film. There's so many opportunities on YouTube and other sites nowadays to study what great players are doing and how players get separation, get open, so they can finish. Like during the Celtics game in California, saw Drew Hanlon, one of the NBA trainers, who's Jason Tatum's trainer. He's out there, and he's not out there just to watch the game. He's out there to watch what he can do to help Tatum get better. So you're just not going to show up, for an hour a week and become a great player. And we had players for years that would come on Tuesdays and Sundays to increase their skill. And there was a big drop-off in enthusiasm and interest. And the few players who did continue to come, it really showed up. Those are the players you read about in the paper that you see they're all scholastics. And it's, obviously they have size and they have athletic ability, but they have the commitment to follow through and become great players.
Yeah, just like, Melrose has been down the last few years. Last year they did good in the second half of the season. And we talked to them, right, about playing getting together with the captains and going down and working on your game. And they all said they want to do it. Not all of them, most of them want to do it. But, if they don't work on their game, if they're not totally committed, that's why we have St. Joe's. We're going to St. Joe's and playing 5 games up there. Remember I talked about a little earlier. Hopefully they can just get to that next level. And the girls that are going are excited about going. But you talk about coaching, and again, I'm going to break, talking about my grandson, right? He's 8 years old, right? He's playing baseball now. He's playing on basically the Summit AAU team in the summer. And they just won a tournament this weekend. They won 3 games in a row yesterday. And he's been playing center field, always in infield the last 2 years. So he plays 3 games yesterday. He gets home at 10 o'clock. I go up there today, and I say, let's go to the field. We go to the field, me and Jim, my son-in-law, and him, and I'm hitting probably 100 fly balls in center field. But I'm just saying, he was wanted, just an 8-year-old kid wanted to get better because he's playing center field and they just won a tournament.
Sure.
That's his thinking. We got high school girls that aren't committed. They don't care about getting better. Some. A lot of them want to get better, but there are some that don't care. And that's the situation you have.
Well, another key point is the mental aspect of the game. I'm not going to name any names. It was years ago. Melrose is ahead by 8 with 55 seconds to go, and they have the ball out of bounds. So all you have to do is
I remember that play.
Take care of the basketball. So what do you see? 5 seconds into the shot clock, a Melrose player jacks up a 3-point shot. It misses. Well, all it does is it allows the other team hope to come back into the game. There's no way that you should be doing that, and that you behind the scenes you hope that players' teammates or the coach lets the girl know that that was really a bad play. I remember, 50 years ago playing, and I don't ever remember thinking, well, my teammate took a bad shot. That was really a dumb play. I just don't remember seeing that. Maybe in the heat of battle, I wasn't making. Maybe they were saying, "Boy, why did he take that shot?" But and nowadays you hear that so often. People will be saying, "Oh, why are they letting her shoot the ball?" Remember what Coach Ariema says: if you're open and you're playing on my team, you got to shoot the ball because you're good enough. If you're good enough to be on UConn, you're good enough to take an open shot.
Yeah, you take that. If you're open, you take the shot. If you miss maybe 4 in a row, you may want to drive or get a little closer or whatever. But, I'm like that too. If you're open, you've got to be able to shoot the ball.
Right. There's a phenomenal book by an Australian writer, James Kerr, about the All Blacks, maybe New Zealand, rugby team, who's the greatest team in the history of team sports. And one of his principles that he shares is champions do extra. So you have to do that unrequired work that separates you from other players, that makes you an elite player. Nobody's a good enough athlete that they can just show up and be the best out there at everything. Actually, there was one guy. As a high school senior, Bo Jackson went to the Alabama decathlon. They said, there's 10 things you have to do. We'll tell you what you have to do when you get there. He says, okay. So he shows up. He doesn't even know what the events are: running, throwing, javelin, etc. He sets the Alabama state record, not even knowing what you're supposed to do. He was one of those athletes that, to me, he's one of the top athletes I've ever seen.
But I think commitment's huge. The parents have to understand it too with their sons or daughters, that you're committed to a team. You make sure you show up when you have to, when you can. You don't just brush it aside and say, I don't feel like going or whatever. There was one player here in Melrose who was the best, one of the top 2 or 3 female basketball players we had, who missed 2 foul shots in a big game that would have taken them to the Garden with 2 seconds to go. One of the best players. But she was so committed to the team, you couldn't get upset, or she couldn't get down, because she knew she worked so hard to be the type of player she was. How could you get upset at that? So someone who's not committed, who misses those 2 shots, they should be upset.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Finding Forrester.
No, I've heard about it.
All right, so at the end of the game, this kid who befriend Robert Brown, who has been befriended by Sean Connery. Anyway, so he gets picked up by an elite private school, ostensibly to play basketball, but the kid's a great student. So he's playing in the championship game, and he has 2 free throws at the end, and if he makes them, they'll win. And he misses them, both of them. But, you know, I think Sean Connery says something, did you miss them or did you miss them? So it was, you never really know whether he missed them or he intentionally missed them to sort of poke his finger in the eyes of the people who looked at him as just a basketball player. Well, we've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.